Hello, Poggers, and welcome to another episode of the PogState, the mostest importantest of episodes of the PogState, as we are about to delve into the realm of the playoffs. But first, it is the time that everyone other than me has been waiting for. It is the time to reveal who was the victor when they predicted the outcome of the regular season. And you may remember a certain decision that was made by a certain man called Atlas, where he put KT in first place for some really dumb reason. After today's match, as of course we are recording after KT took down Kwandong Freaks, got their revenge. It feels a bit better, but not that much. They're still not exactly in the greatest position. And by that, I mean they're not first place. They're fourth, which is about where most people actually place them. So we're going to begin this episode, gentlemen, with a bit of a look at who managed to get the predictions. Before we do start opening these envelopes, any predictions for where you're going to be? Where are you, Valdez?
First.
You're first?
First.
Yeah. You're first?
Third. I'm
first.
predicting I'm third. I'm predicting third.
All right. Well, there is a little bit of a spoiler because having a look at the gorgeous envelopes that we do have here, there is a first, and then there is a first, and these guys had a peek at the two firsts, and that's why they both assumed that they were first. And then there's a third or a fourth, and there's a third. So we're not. No one's tied for last place. Weirdly enough, any other KT first place predicted?
I'm actually a little sad because what I would have loved is if KT was the team that DK ended up being, where it's like 0 game score, like net 0, 9-9, perfect equilibrium. Because I feel like that would have but that would have been so perfect if that was KT, because you just put them first, saying that they're always a coin flip.
Yep. And I said they're always equivalent. Okay, so first we're going to reveal the first places. So I guess the gentleman that predicted that they were in first place, you guys can open these and tell me whether they've got the right names on them.
We might have each
I
other.
can just be chronicler. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
Dutch.
You guys can keep them.
I can talk about my cats.
How do I do a Dutch accent?
Just talk like you have a potato in your mouth.
Talk like the potato in mouth.
That's not bad.
It sounded offensive.
That's fine. It's a good explanation.
Chronicler.
Wait. But that's me.
It's really nice.
I'm chronicler.
And I'm Valdez. This is
You have to say
great.
you're walking here.
Congratulations.
I'm walking here. Where's my pizza?
Yeah. It's pretty accurate.
That was incredibly New Yorkian. All right, well,
New Yorkian.
I'm feeling like you're probably gonna be in this.
Yeah, it was okay for me. I had a decent run. There was some of the bottom teams doing some stuff that nobody could have predicted, and except Chronicler and
Except
Valdez,
both of us.
apparently. That ain't right.
Oh. Oh,
Wait. No way.
They spelled my name wrong.
Wait.
oh no!
How is that possible?
All right, so
Oh,
let's
no.
go through. Let's go
There's
through.
no way.
Hold on.
Hold up.
Wait a minute.
It's because every single one of your bottom teams is wrong except Bro.
I did have the goated swap at the end where I said I don't give a shit about the top. I am just going to fix the bottom.
So
and I did do that.
My Fear X is off by 1. My Quantum is off by 1. My DRX is off by 1. My Nongshim is off by 1. And Bro
Yeah.
is correct. Whereas Atlas
And your
has...
Humble Life Esports is off by 1 as well.
Atlas has first wrong, third wrong, fourth wrong.
Fifth right. I'm actually.
right.
I'm.
The bottom is all correct.
It's actually
That's why.
all correct.
So
I messed up the top 4, but the rest of it I nailed.
So Atlas going for KT ended up paying off.
It's fine, yeah.
That can't be the lesson here.
no,
I don't
that
know what the
can't be
lesson is. The lesson is we will have to have a discussion about how this is calculated after this season.
I mean, it's very simply the amount that you get in the right positions is
The highest
amount
value,
of point
yeah.
that you get.
And the farther it is
All right,
away
well, I guess
from
I'll
correct,
now.
the
I
more
guess I'll
points
give
you're
this to
deducted.
you,
All right.
and then open my
Oh, no, not Comic Sans.
Comic
It's
Sans.
coming.
It's my first time getting Comic Sans. No, I got Comic Sans in the first one as well, didn't I? As I just overreact a lot
It's
in week
just a
one.
return to
Okay,
Comic Sans.
here we go.
Oh, ew.
To be honest, your name does look very cute in Comic Sans, though.
So on one of my playoff casts, I will have an L on my forehead
Yeah.
for the first game, or maybe the first series,
I
whatever
feel
you
like
guys want.
If everything goes
All
as
5
according to plan,
games.
it should be DK versus KT, right?
I think
we
it should be
collectively-
DK versus KT, yeah.
Collectively
I want it to be a
agree.
days doing the
Although I
space,
think
though.
that Wolf can decide exactly when he would like
Of
to
course.
do
Because if you're
forehead reveal.
casting, then you're not on camera as often, right? So
That's
I feel like it
true.
should be the space where, you
Yeah,
get
if you're
maximum
spacing
uptime.
one, yeah, maximum.
I'll figure out when I want an L. I guess I'll take the L on this one, guys. I thought I was third.
Yeah,
I dodged a bullet
Why
in
didn't
a
you
huge
predict
way.
that Nongshim would be 8th instead of 9th, Wolf?
And that's the
And
thing
that
that really
DRX would be
sucks
9th instead of 8th.
is the amount of like
Unbelievable.
value in correctly predicting like where the east side's at is like so low.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, that ended up being the most interesting part of the season in a lot of ways, like, as to
Yeah.
where things were going to land down there, because we really didn't know. The top side ended up being a tier list that we got mostly right, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this season in total was mostly a tier list season, right?
Yeah.
We were saying that a lot during the season, and I think that's why me and Chronicle only got like one wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
I went
one
I
wrong,
went
one swap.
mega boring, and the only thing that did mess me up was that I think originally I don't know what it ended up being. I think I swapped Kwangdong back up, which is what ended up
Yeah, you
saving
did.
me.
Yeah.
Because when we made the swap, we thought that they were going to make it, and then we all collectively thought that they weren't going to make it,
And then they made it.
and then they somehow made it.
Yeah.
My faith in Nongshim, though, remains, as always, misplaced.
So was it? So Valdez, did you actually? You got everything
Mine
right
is just KT
except
Humalife.
for KT Hummer.
Because in the beginning, you remember KT had that like really big win against DK, and we were like, oh, they're
Yeah,
looking pretty
yeah.
good. And Humalife Esports hadn't really hit their stride yet.
Yeah.
So I was like,
No, I think it makes complete sense for when we actually did the predictions. Mine's
Yeah.
the only one that's completely boneheaded.
Mal had them at third. Mal
Yeah,
had
yeah.
Humalife Esports at third.
But I think it's like it's a bit of a flip between those two for that particular time. So there we
I
go.
just trusted Peanut. He just gets it done.
He does. He's
Regular
pretty
season.
good at home. Pretty
I
good
think
at
it'll be a
home.
lot easier to predict after week one for summer, just because I think we now kind of know the level of the teams in general. Unless we have a big overperformance in playoffs or something like that, like we'll have a pretty good read. Unless someone really goes hard on preparing for summer, obviously in the off season, but I think it will be much easier to know. The east side, maybe not, but like
No,
from
that
7 to
one-
10, I don't know. Kwangdong and playoffs teams and up, like seems pretty easy, but
I feel like we actually know less about the eastern side.
Yeah.
After this season, I'm like, I actually
And also, if we remember, like Kwangdong and Nongshim were apparently practicing really, really hard in the off season before.
yeah, and with
spring,
T1 as well, with
Worlds and
stuff,
yeah. But that really like didn't seem to help all that much.
I think it helped Quantum Freaks initially, and then they hit
Yeah.
a really rough patch that kind of ruined everything. And then Nongshim, I don't know, that didn't work
No.
for them.
I feel like with
know
Nongshim,
why.
the tragedy is even with their win score being as abysmal as it is, the amount of individual games that they've won, it's got to mean I don't know what it means, but it's got to mean something because they were I think the only team that actually consistently took games off of much stronger teams because it was very much a tier list season. I feel like we had a lot of like 4 versus 5 would go to 3 games, right? DKKT.
Yep.
We had a bunch of those, but outside of that, I feel like the top teams just mostly 2-0'd, with mostly exception of Nongshim, which I don't get.
Yeah.
Don't think about it too hard.
Well, I know I tried, and that's
And also, I guess like for Nongshim specifically, they did lose a coach halfway through the season, which can't be that great for keeping your team on track. So hopefully they can sort that out moving into the summer season and look a little bit better. But now we can direct our attention away from the bottom of the standings. It is now time for us to do a little bit of a recap of what we thought about the season and think about who to deliver our MVP votes to. And this
Maybe
can
we
be
should do that first.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
I mean-
first we should probably have a look at like the things that we remember most about this season, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like this season to me was, and I hate to say it, but like one of the least interesting LCK seasons that we've had since I joined the LCK. Like it seemed pretty obvious what was going to happen on most given days. There were a few weird upsets with KT and Kwangdong and D+, which were disappointing upsets. It wasn't like a glow up; it was like a fall down. It was a collapse.
A blow up. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I
Nice.
like that. I don't know. I think the meta was not that bad or anything like that.
Meta was
We
right.
had a few problem champions.
As soon as Azir got removed, it was
Actually,
great.
so
yeah,
good.
it's so true. And next week it's going to be all back to Azir again. But yeah, this season for me just felt like something extremely unlikely was never going to happen. Like you walk to work every day thinking like, I know what we're gonna get. And on the days where there was like a crazy series where you're like, okay, like D+ might mess this up. You knew also like D+ might mess this up. Like it wasn't like,
Yeah.
whoa. It was just like, yeah, well, we saw this one coming.
Yeah, really the only game that wasn't that way, because I totally agree with you. Although I do think the meta was a bit slow this season. Like the games were pretty slow overall. We had a decent amount of scaling, I guess. Was KT Gen G, right? That was the one match where it was like,
Yeah,
oh,
that was
wow.
the one
And that
time.
was
Yeah.
like just Senna Nautilus, and they played it so well, and it was like a pretty bad meta read from Gen G just in one match, and it was a big upset. It was very nice, but that was about it. Also, like when Quantum Freaks won, that was pretty wholesome. You
It's
know,
all KT
just
games,
this week.
isn't it?
A lot of
Hanwha
it.
over T1,
Yeah.
that was
DK.
like one small
Yeah,
upset
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Hammer over
that was
T1
good.
was a big one.
Yeah, I think that the as Brendan was saying, even the upsets very often get boiled down to either bad meta reads or I feel like there wasn't as much rising to the occasion. And I think that the way that this current season has gone hopefully shakes up a little bit. I also think that just in general, spring isn't as great as summer because
Yeah.
not only do teams have meta reads that can be good or bad, but like the base level of synergy for teams that haven't been together, like obviously Nongshim and T1 are kind of the outliers here in very different ways. But even those teams, I think you can see some of the rust, and you still have to get used to what the new compositions look like. I think summer will be hopefully a lot better. I don't know if it'll really help with the tier listing though, because if you look at the teams at the top, it's very obvious right there at the top. And if you're looking at the teams that like might have an upsurge, I think it's only Hanwha, KT, and that's about it. I feel like the problems that we've seen from DK and Kwangdong, like very deep problems, I'm like, can you fix those in a season? I mean, you can because DRX won World, so anything is
What about
possible
a Fear
now.
X?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I
about
feel
a
like
Fear X
what about Bro?
DRX have got some potential, you know? Like, I
about
feel like
Pool
there
Bay?
is opportunity for movement. I don't think they're going to be challenging like first place or something like that, but I do think like for me, FearX and DRX, the same team, they both showed like marked improvement towards the end of the season, and so I think that means that they'll be up a couple of levels, even if it just means that they've taken a couple of extra wins and don't drop a few games to Bro here and there and stuff. That's what I'm sort of thinking.
Two out of Bro's 3 wins this season were against Kwangdong.
Yeah.
That probably is one of the most memorable things of the season. That is actually deeply funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how that
and
happened.
deeply Kwangdong.
Yeah.
Mid-season Kwangdong. I still don't understand why.
Who
you
did
know?
DRX beat?
DRX, Bro,
Bro.
and I think Nongshim once, or they beat FearX, didn't they, in the first round?
Yeah, they beat.
They took a game off of them. I
I know
remember
they
if
got
won
clobbered
series.
in the second
That was
one.
the split push like backdoor series where it was like, oh, backdoor into the same backdoor but for the other team.
No, they beat FearX in round 2
remember
because
that.
that's when we
No, that
started
was-
saying like we think that maybe DRX looks like the team.
Yes,
that
yes,
could
Yes,
take
you're
us
right.
to
That's
playoffs.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But then mathematically they just couldn't.
They were not gonna. Yeah. I'm like, is there anything? I mean, DK being the way that they are, I think, isn't really a big surprise when we saw the roster announced.
Yeah.
I think most of us were kind of worried. KT is the positive story to me. I think that they are definitely fourth, but the development that they've gone through has been really impressive to me. The way they worked around Perfect in particular is really, really cool.
Pretty disappointed they didn't get first place.
Well, that's
would've been
that's
nice for you.
expectation
Just go watch some
management.
2023 summer VODs.
Yeah. Awesome.
2018.
All pro votes.
2018.
No.
I'll just watch that 2018
Finals.
final again.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Yep. Just watch Score winning that trophy. Thanks, you, Cal. Oh, what a time to be alive. So, MVP votes, though. And I think that the criteria for this is the difficult one. Like, because we get to choose out of every single player, and you'd expect, like, maybe we should all just say Chovy, right? Because Gen G are the best
Chovy.
team.
Chovy.
And Chovy had probably his best single season as far as performance level.
There was that one
concerned.
season where he had like 100 and something
That
KDA.
was the Griffin debut season. That wasn't bad. 126 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
I feel like
But this one was better than that, I think.
I think
still.
there's an argument for Canyon for me because he and Chovy played together really well. But I wouldn't vote for him. I'm just saying like some might like try to push for like Chovy looked as good as he did because he had Canyon's help. And then the other vote that some of us talked about was Zayas because he was just by far the best top laner for most of the season.
He was very good at picking Aatrox.
Yeah, and teams were very good at
and
not
isolatedly
stopping
dying.
him from picking Aatrox
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's pretty easy Chovy vote. He had the biggest impact out of any player in the entire LCK this season so far. So I think it's going to be pretty clear when he
All
gets
right.
it.
So I think it's boring. MVP vote boring.
Yeah.
So let's do a different vote. Let's do a most improved.
Okay, well that's perfect. It's also
Perfect.
boring.
Oh, okay,
So
boring.
no, I actually have a good.
Let's do a.
No, I actually have a
bull.
good one.
Okay,
so,
good.
so basically, because Gen G, like yes, Chovy, I think is the player that is the most clearly so far beyond everyone else, especially after the second T1 Gen G series. But who do you think is the individually biggest carry on their team? So then we're going to go more towards the lower end of the spectrum,
okay.
like because then you could argue like
Peter.
who is only where they are because I feel like you can make an argument for Cuz, for example, right? Like which team is only in the position that they are because of by
so
the large.
who has which team has the most
So, like-
standout solo carry?
Yeah, so like Cuz, Wheeler,
Jiwoo.
Teddy.
Here's a
Jiwoo.
crazy call out.
Probably Jiwoo.
Here's a crazy call out though. If D Plus didn't have Showmaker in those first few weeks,
Oh,
they might be in
true.
6th place
Well,
as well.
no, but I think that's
Yeah,
valid. But
yeah.
and then Showmaker's last week's obviously we rid of. But I feel like that's more interesting because it is Chovy. But then at least we can
Yeah, so like more about like standout carry.
actually
Willard?
most valuable player or
Yeah.
relatively to how the rest of their team performed.
For every team?
Well, I mean, or just
We can
whoever
just
you
go
feel the most
through and
strongly.
see which teams
Yeah.
because I think that there are like probably 3 that are really standout, like Kwandong with Cuz, right?
It has to be.
Jiwoo for
Nongshin,
Nongshin,
Jiwoo, Willer for Fear X.
Wheeler for Fearex,
Cuz for Kwangdong, I guess.
Cuz for Kwangdong.
And Teddy for DRX is like,
No, it's Plata.
I mean, it's Pleta and Teddy.
I think
the
it's- yeah,
bottom
it's the
lane is
bottom
what you
lane.
want to say.
Yeah.
Because Teddy's stats are also
is it
like
for bro?
outstandingly good. Who is it for bro?
Do they have one? It's full bay. Yeah.
Honestly,
Played one game.
it might
It's
be
sword.
Palu. Like
I think it might be
I
Palu.
think it is Palu.
It is
actually.
Palu.
Who
Yeah.
didn't play today for some reason, which is still. I think
No,
that
it was the height.
the
thing,
height
like I
code.
said.
No, that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
actually
like there's-
probably it.
Yeah. So there's an amount of centimeters that you get for a team, and with Doiv, you can't have
He
Polo
is
as well.
such a
He's so
unit. Oh my
charismatic
God.
as well. His interview was so like endearing.
Yeah, dude, he was just so large. It's just-
Yeah.
I walked past him, like on the way to the caster desk. I walked past Doiv, and I'm like,
Imagine-
"You're like less
don't
than
make
half
him
my
angry.
age."
You won't like him when he's angry.
oh, he's on Brion as well, the green team.
Oh my god, true. Actually, for Breon, it's Morgan.
Who is it for Helm of Life?
100% Morgan.
Is it
Fight.
Peanut or is it Viper?
Ooh.
I think
That's
it's Peanut.
Doran.
It's not
For
Doran.
the enemy team.
And it's not Zeka.
Doran does move the team in a direction more than any other player.
True.
It probably is still Peanut.
I think it's probably
it's Viper.
Peanut. But
Uh,
Viper did have a lot of games where
I think
he
it's
just
like
solo
both of them.
carried.
Yeah, that's
So
tough.
did Peanut.
I think Viper sometimes carries when
Probably
Hanwha is like
Viper?
not massively ahead, but they're usually massively ahead because of
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's
on the
right.
games
Viper
where they're
carried the
not,
closer
Viper's like,
games.
I
Yeah.
guess I will carry fine. And then he does.
KT is really interesting me that I feel like it actually isn't really a standout player.
Oh,
They're
no,
kind
that's
of the
an enigma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of the antithesis to this.
I feel like it was DRX all along.
For DK, I think it actually has to be Showmaker.
Yeah.
Even
For
his,
DK, yeah.
his last couple of weeks have really been.
For KT, it's definitely
rough.
Beryl. Because we don't know, it has to be Beryl. You know, like there is no actual argument that you can
No, it's
make
pure
sense of. So it's
It's
just
Mark.
Beryl.
It's
No,
the
not.
L.
It's not
It's
Mark.
the
Pulisic
L.
was
It's
the
the
most
L.
clutch.
It's the LCS import.
Pulisic was the most clutch. I think Beryl had the most flashy, obvious performances.
I just like
BDD
to
was most
equate
consistent.
every decision that KT makes. I just equate it to something Beryl is.
You
cooked up.
equate every decision everyone makes to something Beryl does.
Yeah. That's how
Max
it works.
came to work today because he thought Beryl would prefer it.
That's why I wore this T-shirt. I woke up in the morning and said, "What would Beryl do? He'd probably wear a shirt to work," and so I did. That's how it went. Oh,
Who is going to be the best player in summer? I didn't word that correctly.
you
Chovy.
didn't word very much
No,
at all.
Who's going to be the best player in summer? Chovy, yeah.
like
Yeah.
who is one player that we don't expect who is going to pop off in summer? That
Lucid.
was like kind of whatever this season.
Don't tempt me with a good time, Max.
Okay. Oh,
He's not going to be there.
Someone who was like kind of middle of the pack, not super noticeable, but he's going to be like excellent in summer.
kind of wish Perfect didn't have his glow up today, because
Yeah.
otherwise I would have said him. But maybe we could still say him. He's still got room to go.
I think Bulldog could do it if he puts the time in. Like,
Yeah.
he's had some pretty good late games, and he seems pretty smart. Like, his positioning is really good. He's really good at knowing how he can actually turn people diving onto him into a resource, for example, especially on Aurelion Soul.
He's got a good attitude too, so I think that's.
I like Bulldog.
He's got some glimpses of brilliance, and like, you know, I've been one of the biggest like Bulldog as a flop, like super disappointed in his performance, especially last year. But I think with the growth we have seen from him, maybe he's the one that I look at for seeing if the offseason is utilized well, and seeing how much he grows.
I'd probably say Lucid. I think that's the easiest. Like
For
if,
like unmet
if we were
potential.
doing like a prediction, I would probably pick Lucid.
Oh my God! You
Because-
just gave me the answer. Like, it's Tarzan. He's the player in summer. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw it coming, and he's gonna actually be really good.
I actually, really shouldn't speak because I. Yeah.
You're only here so you don't get fined.
So I'm actually like, I'm really amazed that they're going to do that, because I didn't think that Tarzan was that good at 80 carry, but I guess like that's what he's going to be doing.
Ox and I were actually talking about this. We're like, okay, hear us out. So you put Tarzan jungle. Of course, you need shot caller, understandably.
Uh-huh.
Then you rotate Lucid to mid. We've seen his Akali. If he can do that on
Oh,
Akali, he can do it in another.
true.
And then Showmaker, 80 carry.
His
But
SP was
remember when
pretty good.
Showmaker was 80 carry for those couple of I don't know what there was dark weeks
It was
for
Malrang.
DK.
Yeah, that was
playing
the
Yeah.
Malrung.
Yeah.
Malrang was 80 carry, and Showmaker was jungle bot or whatever they decided. Like,
It was something. Obviously, my pick would be Lucid if there is a shift in the jungle meta, because the greatest moments we have seen of him where it felt like he at least partially lived up was the Gen G series where he played a carry. I think the T1 series, we got that for like 15 minutes, and then he went full challengers and through the game like in
Never go
both.
full challengers.
He never go full challengers. But in the GNG series, I think we got to see what he could be. But I also think that the way that DK are going to be playing now is the way they're going to be playing throughout the year. So I don't actually think it'll get better. With him having the lowest gold share, I don't really think there's a lot of value there. I would probably go Clear. I think Clear also
Ooh,
has been
that's a good
having
one.
a great glow up, similar to Perfect. He's obviously on the worst team. I don't know if it'll continue, but I feel like they both are really great kind of success stories for how we can see a player grow as a rookie, where they make really obvious, like Poolbay, I think today was a good example as well, where you just do stuff in lane that in challenges you can get away with, and then in LCK you just get hard slapped down. The Vi kill,
But also just
No.
like the amount of pull bay he was today was so high. He was the most like we got like we managed to like show everyone exactly who he is in one game, and the positives and the negatives. It was perfect. It was beautifully
He's
done.
about the damage maximalization with disregard for his own life.
Oh yeah.
But Clear would probably be my main pick. Yeah, I feel like Calyx is too early. We don't really know. Like, obviously, he has some hype around him, but I feel like KT also showed us the best way to utilize a rookie is to have him in a team of people who can really, like, obviously perfect, put a lot of word in, but is also in a position where he can grow and he can be supported, and it isn't all on him.
And
I
he
feel
has
like
the answer to every question at a moment's notice.
because he has the guru. Yeah.
Well, he does, but also like everyone's got so much experience on that team.
I'll give Yehu a shout as well. I feel like
Yeah.
he already improved a lot, but he came
That's a
in
good
and
one.
he looks pretty good.
I'd want to say Pleta, but I don't think he can get better. I think he's already just the best.
Yeah.
Damn, that play is so good.
Any Gideon believers?
No.
No.
Gideon Div. Gideon Div.
I was actually sad they put Doiv in, and Gideon had some pretty good games this season, like on Lee Sin in particular. His early game was pretty aggressive, but I don't know. I was trying to say a good thing about Bro, and it was hard.
It's okay, Wolf. You got through it.
You did well.
It's okay.
Yeah, good
I don't
enough.
know why Effort played. That's like I know it's really sad, but
No, I think it was definitely because he had a good week in Challenger,
and then they
wanted
were
to
like,
reward him for a
also
good week in
we're
Challenger.
gonna bring in
Fair.
Doiv and Pool Bay, so like we need Big Brother back. I guess that makes sense.
Also, like, I mean, Effort's a really famous player, and I think it's good for the fans to have an opportunity to see him one last time. And
yeah, that's a
Yep.
good point.
So just like have a bit of an experiment. All right, so I think it's now time to turn our attention towards the playoffs. Try and figure out
PO.
how this one is going to
You're
go.
gonna-
Just to let you guys know, we will probably, by the very end of the episode, actually have a bit of info as to who Harmon Life Esports has chosen.
It's Quantum
So-
Freaks.
And it's going to be Quantum Freaks. They might have already actually
I think
just
they have
posted
2
it.
hours left, so I'm
9:30 is
checking.
the cutoff.
30 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah, so that should be happening within the time of the PogState. If it's not, we will just assume that it's going to be Quantum Freaks anyway. So I think we might need to do some magical materialization of a whiteboard.
Are we all going to clap together and make it appear?
Yeah.
All right. 3.
No, do the Korean because we did the
What?
voice lines.
You okay?
No, my language doesn't work. No, the Hanadu set the fighting because we did the chants because of the DDoS thing. It's fun to bring it back.
Or just count to 3 and we'll make the whiteboard appear.
I can do it
That's
if you'd like
Do it
me to
in
count to
Korean,
3.
please.
Do it in
Korean.
Korean.
That's totally fine. Okay. 하나, 둘, 셋.
We were a little off on that one.
Again, whose clap is going to bring the whiteboard? We'll know whose it is when the whiteboard comes in.
Wow. It just appeared.
Wow.
Despite our really out of sync clapping, it still
Yeah.
showed up.
Magic.
Yeah, that
Shout
was
out
amazing.
to Gaihan for her awesome Ramus drawing,
Amazing. I hope you guys can see it.
especially
I
because
like how
we
he
had
got it-
Ramus
he-
today.
It looks a little bit from here like he's got like a little claw, like he's a crab, like it's a
Also,
crab Ramus.
I told Kayan to take a liberty. If anyone objects, now is the moment.
No,
I object.
Any
No,
objectors?
pretty sure.
Might be some in the YouTube comments.
Well, as long as you put the right team next to them, I'm sure those YouTube comments will go away. It'll be fine. So let's jump up to the top and make a few assessments as to where things are going to go. So if we could just chuck a Quantum
So
Freaks.
this is a KDF because it's the
Yeah.
LCK. No one ever picks.
Yeah. And we saw what happened when a team picked the wrong team last time, and they did not
They
hear the end of it.
lost.
They still have not heard the end of it. As KTDK.
And they probably never will, to be honest, knowing
No.
KT, the org.
And so KT has side selection going into their match against either Quantum Freaks or DK, I guess. But I think regardless of what happens here, we probably expect Harmon Life and KT just to walk out of it, right?
Yeah.
Which worries me for KT.
Yeah. We're all going to predict KT to win, and
Mm-hmm.
then they're going to find a way to lose. Because we all predicted them to win.
Maybe get Kwangdong Hanwha out of the way first. I feel like that's the match where I'm like, I just don't see it at all. I think in KTDK...
I think there's actually no angle.
No, because in KTDK, like, if we come from the future and like, guys, KT bombs, we're like,
Yeah.
Are we
You
surprised?
can believe that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
What has to happen?
So, well,
For Kwangdong
if
Freaks to win.
If KT lose, I think Genji don't pick D+, actually.
No, they 100% won't. No, I agree. That's actually
Because, I mean, this team has already played them close. They have a history of playing close against them. I mean, maybe they do because it's the LCK, but I feel like they might actually just
no, I agree.
not.
But as Veldis was saying, so what needs to happen for Kwangdong to beat Hanwha?
They have a lot of fans. They played much better when their fans were going crazy.
So Doran,
I think if Hummer Life Esports' monitors turned off, Kwangdong
That
Freaks
would
have a
help.
chance.
That would help.
I mean, the truth is, like, I just don't see any world where this matchup goes well for Kwangdong Freaks unless they have a really sick draft read, going into the new patch.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's exactly
that's
it.
like the only
it's the
way.
CV Max like psycho draft angle.
Because, I mean, if you just read out the
Might as
matchups,
well.
you're like, okay, Zeka versus Bulldog in mid lane. You're like, okay, well, that one doesn't seem crazy until you think about what Zeka plays and how it's good into Bulldog's playstyle.
Mm-hmm.
Think about top, and you're like, okay, Dudu hasn't had the greatest season. Like, he's not going to be able to punish
Today
Doran.
he had a rough game too.
Yeah.
We were watching that like, oof.
Cuz versus Peanut, like, that's, like, on its own sounds like, oh, that could be okay, but
yeah, that's
but if all the
that's not
lanes
too
are
bad.
losing, because bottom lane is Viper and Delight versus Bull
Also-
and question mark, like, we don't even know.
Peanut just wins those matchups.
Yeah.
Like even though it is because I feel like what he did to Owner, what he's done to a lot of junglers, how many championships he's won. Like I think he's just gonna come in with like the next level, and Peanut's just gonna pop
Maybe
him too.
Disrespect from Hanwha coming into this series and not a lack of preparation, trying to prepare for upcoming matches instead could be a way.
They have been known to have lazy games, especially Peanut. Like Peanut, like tries as hard as he needs to, and then
That's
he
a very
doesn't
good
anymore.
point.
Like
I'm gonna move this
that
closer. just in
maybe
case.
is like that's the angle, but that doesn't win them 3 games.
It's because
That's
it's
the
the best of
problem.
5,
And then
right?
it's Viper and Delight
yeah.
Yeah.
against Bull and
Question
Quantum.
mark.
It probably will be
Probably
Quantum.
Quantum.
But I feel
Probably
like
Quantum.
it also
I think it doesn't matter.
It also doesn't matter at
Yeah.
all. No, I'm
What if it's Moham?
he's not even playing
No,
challenges anymore. I don't know, man. Moang's haircut can throw off even the most experienced player.
True.
It's very
No,
true.
it's yeah, like somewhere between Metari, Doran having a truly awful day, because Doran has been incapable of solo losing series. We've seen this at internationals many a time.
True.
And if this was them meeting at an international, I'd be like,
Oh, Quandong's got it.
well, I wouldn't
It's in
say
the
that,
bag.
but then I'd be a believer. But and it shouldn't be, right? It's third versus sixth, so like it should not be. There shouldn't really be any
Yeah.
angles.
We talked about how it's a tier list season. Like Kwangdong Freaks are at least 3 tiers below Humble Life Esports, and there's only 2 teams in between them.
I think if
so
we were talking about Fear
It's
X
rough.
against Humble Life Esports, I'd be more optimistic about Fear X than I would about Quandong Freaks. I think that their form is better at the moment.
Hey, you know what? Free Willy, I'm with it. I like it.
No, but just like towards the end of the season, that's why we were having that conversation, right? And DK decided to go completely kaboom versus Quandong Freaks, and that's why Quandong Freaks are here. I don't think it's necessarily a lot on Quandong Freaks are looking like they've solved
then
their
Fearx
issues.
lost to Notion as well. But that was after they got knocked out, so
Let's
might have
talk about
affected-
KT versus D+.
Yeah.
I think this will be
we need a whole other episode for
the
this.
best,
Yeah.
the best, or possibly the best series in playoffs. Not in terms of gameplay, but in terms of entertainment value. I feel like this one is gonna have it all.
I think
I think it could have it all and also be very boring. Like it could actually just be everything. It's Schrodinger's best of 5.
the difference between these two teams to me is very clear in that KT is extremely confident and everything they do is very intentional and the shot calling is very quick. And sometimes it's the wrong choice, but like they make decisions. D+, they do not make decisions. And so I think like sometimes this is to KT's detriment, right? Where they make a hard call. We're going to this Baron and it's like, oops, this was a little bit wrong. Or like I think we win these and then Barrel flashes in and looks for the engage and loses them the fight. And they have clear shot calling, right? Whether it's the right choice or not, like their shot calling is very crisp. Arguably up there with like Genji, T1, and Hanwha. And then D+ doesn't have a shot caller. They have like Lucid sometimes going in while the rest of the team is going out and stuff like that. I do think that while we talk about the team's performance against each other in a best of 3, as well as like some of the stuff that we've seen that's wacky from KT, and we go, well, it'd be crazy. I actually think KT probably just smashed D+. Like they're better coordinated. PogState's better on form than Lucid is right now. And Yeah, maybe Showmaker has like a pop-off game against BDD or something like that, but otherwise you look at the rest of the map too and you're like, Kingen, is he going to
Solo adventure.
get it done?
Yes.
How is Graspazier on this patch now that he's back?
I'm sure it's great.
Probably good. Maybe aiming like shows up because he was good in playoffs for KT last year, so maybe he's like, all right, now I got to focus. Like, I swear, if he could just like fix his focus issues, he would be much better than he has been all spring, but maybe if he can step it up and someone like makes a hard call, like, hey, this guy's the shot caller. It doesn't matter what he says. You know, you just listen to what he says. Maybe, but I kind of do agree. I think KT will take the series, but I think it might get really messy. I don't have too much faith that KT are going to be clean with it either.
That's the right way to approach it.
Yeah, I went for because I already put in my predictions. I went for a KT smash them angle because I think that DK have the building blocks to be a good team, and they also seem completely incapable of actually being a good team. I feel like we've seen glimpses of how to utilize aiming, and then the next game, like, that doesn't work at all. Like, either they don't play around him or they put him on picks that he very clearly should not be playing. Like, I think aiming last summer's performance on Kai'Sa is kind of self-explanatory. If you're picking a dive comp top, why are you picking Jinx? You like, but that's a team thing, right? Because I feel like if aiming is on Kai'Sa, I could see him carry that game genuinely, because I feel like him in dive comps, he knows what to do, he knows how to play those. And then the same is for Lucid and Showmaker, who I think have been the other kind of, because I feel like Kingen has been great, but I also think Kingen doesn't win you games. And I feel like Lucid, Showmaker, that 2v2, especially at the beginning of the season, when they matched up against Gen G, they actually looked really good. And then recently, we've kind of seen them move away from that again, right? Where they try to play because the meta shifted away from tank support, so Kellen's more on enchanters, meaning Lucid is basically on rel duty, or God forbid, Maokai. I think none of us want to see that.
Hopefully Lee Sin.
Yeah, hopefully Lee Sin, but that's going to get banned 100%, right?
His
like
Vi is also looking
Yeah,
okay.
his Vi is fine, but like I feel like DK very fundamentally have no idea what they're doing as a team, and it's kind of echoes what Wolf says, but I also feel like I don't think you can fix that in a weekend. Like, I could see DK be good in summer, even if they don't make the changes that we meme about a lot, which...
Yeah.
But KT right now, it feels like they know what they're doing, and sometimes what they're doing is wrong.
But it's decisive.
But they do know what their players offer and how to use it.
Yeah, I think D Plus also has this thing where they do kind of know what's happening in the early game, and then you get to the late game and they're like, wait, I don't have control anymore. We have to think, and like then we have to make decisions, and then everyone's silent, and then they like drop a Baron and don't get a Dragon or don't get a cross
They're like
map.
a rookie team. Yeah. Where like the early game is really railroaded in general in League. So like being like, we're going to dive on the third stacked wave. We're going to like get... They do that, and then after that it's...
Do you know what's actually hilarious? They just need to watch the FearX VOD back of them crushing Bro in game one to work out how to play the late game. Isn't that fun? Like, they have something to... Like, DK has something to learn from FearX, a team that's far younger than they are. And DK have so many veterans, so many players that have been around the traps for so long, and they're not able to do it as well as FearX.
It does make you wonder, like, the coaches of both of these teams as well. Like, KT seems to be pretty hands-off in terms of, like, what's going on in the team, and it seems like D+, Zephyr especially seems very hands-on, but it's not working. Like, I don't know... It's a chemistry issue with the players that they've had since last year, even though it's a completely different roster, essentially. Like, D+ has been very disappointing this season, and like the fact that there's been no improvement and it's like literally the same issues as last year, I'm like, how can this happen? Like, how did this occur? This just doesn't seem... It shouldn't be the case.
And sometimes a team just doesn't gel. Sometimes it just doesn't work, you know? And you just can't predict it. So this hasn't necessarily been a success. So it is their worst season. Like, the reason we're talking like this, they are a team that's still going to playoffs, right? But this is their worst season that they've had since the inception of Damwon into the LCK.
Is DK's form currently worse than Kwangdong Freaks' form? I mean, they did just lose to them.
I feel like they're still better, because I think their peak is way higher. So I feel like if they had like a
I feel like also, like, if you're talking
day.
from the perspective of Humble Life Esports, they will definitely respect DK more.
Yeah.
That's what I'd assume.
But I do think that Kwangdong...
Just in terms of form.
No, I mean, it's because they 2-0'd them, right?
No, I think you might actually be onto something.
It just feels like, it's fourth versus fifth, but it doesn't necessarily feel like that right now, especially after week 9. It's like KT are coming off a very, smash win over Kwangdong Freaks, whereas DK got absolutely wrecked by them, and it's like these teams don't look like they're in the same universe right now.
You know what DK need to do? They need to become KT of last year. So Kellen on roamers, play towards topside only, get Showmaker
Who's
ahead.
their challenger support?
Loopy?
Yeah.
Loopy,
yeah. He's fine.
I think we're keeping Kellen in.
Yeah, I mean, Loopy isn't playing.
He just had a rough series against Kwangdong, so I was just curious.
I think that's actually the angle. And leave aiming on an island on Kaisa. He will get Shiv, farm waves, and then do great in the fights afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your read is correct. I just don't think they can figure it out.
They're not gonna. No, but that's like because again, I think we're all in agreement that KT's gonna win. But if DK do win, that's how I imagine it'll happen. Or it's KT for some reason just lose, which
Yeah, I can see like actually how it works, and it works both ways. Actually, we had a conversation about this a little bit earlier on. So one of the teams is going to go up 2-0 in the series, and then it's either just a clean 3-0 and we go home, or it's the Giga throw angle into reverse sweep, silver scrapes.
No 3-1.
Silver scrapes, yeah.
I can see it happening on both sides because the mental collapse that both of these teams are capable of after one misplay is astronomical.
And also the confidence that D Plus gets when they are winning. Like I feel like D Plus could 3-0 or they will never win. Like it kind of feels like that to me. Like they win game 1, then they're like really feeling themselves in game 3, and then they absolutely smash game 2, and then absolutely smash game 3, and then like that's the only scenario in which D Plus win, I think, is a 3-0 where they're just like really feeling it. Everybody's on the same page. The shot calling starts to happen because the players are hyped and they're talking to each other. It's not gonna happen. But like it could be a world. I think they never win a 5-gamer against KT.
All right, so we can probably slam some names in. As Genji, who are they going to choose?
I mean, I think you probably got to choose KT
Marker,
Marker, right? I don't know.
Isn't it just always KT?
Yes.
Probably.
That's what I would
it's
assume.
the only team that beat them during regular season, but that was a weird Senna
It was
thing.
a fluke. I mean,
if Keen has a say,
Hololive
I think he'd
looks too
prefer
strong. I
Hololive
wouldn't pick
Esports
them.
because I assume he likes just beating Doran down.
I think that also, in my opinion, Hanwha Life is great, but they're also just worse Gen.G in the way that they play a lot of their games. So I feel like Gen.G is just never going to lose to them. But I think that it's Delph's scale. They'll pick the lowest ranked team.
In playoffs, I actually think like choosing Hololive Esports is the correct call. Because KT is just such an enigma. Like, how are you supposed to prepare for them? Like,
You never know.
you always know exactly what Hololive Esports are going to do.
Oh, I don't dislike the argument, but what do we think they will do?
So I mean,
they'll pick KT, yeah.
They'll pick
yeah.
KT.
I think we have to write KT in. I do
Right?
think that KT, and we'll get into this actually after we put T1s in there as well. Yeah, but I think that KT, weirdly enough, their play style is a lowercase e-sporter, huh? Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. And there's a dash. I think there's a dash as well.
But I think KT, interestingly, their read on the meta and how they play around like lane prio does kind of mess up Gen.G's eco style. So, I mean, I could see a world where KT could take a game off of Gen.G in this series. I don't think this is going to necessarily be a stomp.
They have a lot of
They
good
took
players
a series.
too.
Like, they were the only
Yeah.
team that could beat them, right? This whole season.
Yeah, you can just have something on the patch that they have a good read with.
That's actually another thing. Like, if you think about it, like, why would Gen.G choose the only team they've lost to?
Well, they smashed them the second time around, and they
Like
didn't seem
hard.
to care. But
True.
I think it was a Senna Nautilus that they let through that was the problem.
And double Lucianami, and then after that, every single team that tried it, we got like, 16-game Senna win streak.
That was a large win streak for Senna. That did happen. All right. So that sort of does make sense.
But I do think KT really is good into Gen.G's style, like stylistically, as long as they don't get smashed in the early laning phase. If they have a lane prio draft, which is part of what they won with when they played the Senna, they had winning lane top, winning lane mid, and then the Senna's roaming and doing stuff. It could happen.
I also think that Lehens and Keen really dropped off sharply in quality last summer in playoffs compared to where they were in the regular season. Like regular season, Keen was absolutely insane, and then as we got to the playoffs, he was just not nearly the same player. So I feel like that could be a case, but I think that between Chovy, Pays, and Kenyon, like,
I think they'll be fine.
it's always
Lehens and King can do what they want.
well, that's my point, right? Like, I think it's always Genji, but the others. So I can put Genji the upper bracket, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we might see like a 3-1, but I do think it's obviously going to be a Genji win. That's what we predict at this moment in time.
And this is why we want Genji to pick KT, is so that we get the next matchup, right?
Because
yeah, I don't know. I'm not brave enough to predict this one.
I feel like I have to lean towards Hanwha right now.
Yeah, same.
Peanut seems way better than Owner at this moment in time. Zeka has fixed some of his champion pool. And Doran feels like the anti-Zeus to me. And in high-pressure matches, he often does just absorb that pressure. And so I feel like that's a good matchup for Doran.
Zeus
we saw it
is
happen
like
in the
the only
finals
player
multiple
that
times.
Doran knows how to beat.
Yeah. So, like, that's a good thing.
It's so true.
And then Delight versus Keria is a super interesting conversation to have, because I think Keria has been more interesting and more innovative, as he often is. But Delight has mostly been more solid in terms of actually playing up against tough opponents, where Keria punched down really hard this season a lot and did some really cool stuff, and he's probably the number one support of the season. But I feel like in this matchup, maybe Delight makes a bigger impact.
yeah, this one for me is the hard. I feel like this is the closest 50-50 that we might get at all, and I hope we get it as a rematch as well. Because I also think that T1 deserves some credit in the form of them leveling up in best of fives, them leveling up in playoffs. I definitely think that is going to play a part. But I also agree. I feel like the form of the players right now just doesn't look that great, which is fine and understandable because it's spring and they won Worlds and they have basically zero downtime. And I think you're really starting to see the results of that long-term fatigue. And even if you end up losing here, that in by itself also doesn't really kick you out of the bracket because you're already in double elimination. I think that the main advantage I would give over T1, even though I think Hanwha Live's draft have been great, is that T1, if T1 do get a good meta read, I feel like they can be more oppressive than probably any other team in the bracket. So like if they, and I think we saw this at Worlds, if they do manage to find something on the next patch that really works for them, they can definitely ride that. But I feel like Hanwha Live right now feel more well-rounded as a team.
I think T1's mid-game and their macro is better than Hanwha's overall, even with like some player form issues. But they have been able to come back in games that even when they're slightly behind, because the reads on how to team fight are so good. Their macro is really good. I think Hanwha hasn't been able to push their leads as well, but they don't care because they have Viper and they're like, oh, we got to late game and maybe we'll win this way. It's either Peanut carries the early game or Viper carries the late game, and they have both insurance policies. But I think if T1 does win, it will just be better drafts, as mentioned, and also just better map play and better pushing of advantages, because T1 have been very good at snowballing this season. Hanwha Life have been almost as good, but I wouldn't say as good at snowballing leads.
I'm a little bit worried for T1 in their drafting. I mean, Lucian seems pretty good, but then when you put Keria on Nami, it kind of feels the same when Viper plays Lucian. He's also very good at it, but then you've got Delight on Nami, and it's like, what? These supports, like, they could probably play mid lane and carry your whole team, but instead they're playing Nami, you know? So that's a little bit of an issue. And T1 seem more attached to that duo than any other team, I'd say, especially when you're picking it into Genji and Hanwha Life Esports. So I do also lean towards Hanwha Life. I feel like they're having a really nice run-up here at the end of the season. Like, the timing is really nice, you know. Peanut's really good in these high-pressure situations, so is Viper. So I think those two guys can just kind of carry it. And, yeah, T1 also very clutch. They won Worlds, etc. But I think at this exact moment, because this match is going to happen 2 weeks from now, maybe they get some development in. But right now, I would pick Hanwha Life Esports. But maybe it's like 60-40. I mean, T1 are still a very good team. And I would say that recency bias, it does matter because they did lose to Hanwha Life Esports and Genji, but at the same time, you know, I think they are still very strong. They can be a bit predictable as well in terms of drafts. You know, like, they play a lot of the same stuff into like lower level teams, and they just smash them, and then upper level teams are like, no, we're not going to let you do that. You know, we're just going to
Aatrox, probably not going to be a thing.
Ban Zeus Aatrox, ban Ash,
Twisted Fate.
you know,
Twisted Fate.
ban Varus, and then it's like,
And
okay,
also,
what are you going to do now?
And you also have to ban Senna and
Viper
Phyllis.
Zeri or Guma Zeri. You know, Zeri is pretty relevant.
I think Viper's much better right now.
So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like that seems like a weak point for T1 is the uncomfortable Zeri play. Like it feels like he doesn't like to play it. They don't want to draft it. It makes him a little bit more predictable. If he does end up playing it, won't necessarily pop off. This could be the series where like Guma's pushed onto Xayah and we're like, oh no.
Oh, don't talk about that champion, please.
I think Jinx Valios might make a comeback this playoffs. If you look at I don't know about
Oh yeah, it's
Valios,
14-6, right?
but it's
I mean,
14-6.
Goomer is already starting to
Sivir?
jump on that
So-
Aphelios
Yeah,
bandwagon.
so Sivir, I appreciate the joke. I feel like even the 4 armor not going to be enough for her. But that is one thing that I do think T1, they can really go back to the playstyle that they used to play with the Jinx Aphelios. If it ends up being that meta, I feel like Guma does benefit from it. I do agree. I feel like Guma on dive champions just doesn't really hit. And
Yeah.
Viper hits on anything, right? I feel like Zeri just requires such a specific playstyle and also your team to play around it, which obviously the poster child for that is Gen G because they've been doing it since 2022. But if it ends up being like a fresh Aphelios-esque meta, I could see T1 do well. I feel like this for me is really 50-50. Depends on the form of the team on the day. Depends on the prep, how the meta shapes up after we've seen the first couple of series. This is the one I think. This one I'm looking forward to for entertainment value. This one I think is going to be. I hope.
That's
I
a
hope,
good game.
I
That's
hope
a
it
good
might
series.
match KTT1.
there are
I
a
don't think it
couple-
will, but
Yeah. Sorry.
There's a lot of things
no,
coming
it's fine.
up.
No, because that summer,
Yeah.
those summer series.
There are a
were
couple of
amazing.
things that might favor T1. You might say, okay, they get the extra rest. They have a whole best of 5, probably just 3 games to see like what Hanwha Life is playing against Quantum Freaks. But more often than not, it's actually the team that plays more that oftentimes looks better. So it's like maybe that's just a win for Hanwha Life, actually, that they just get some practice in a best of 5, you know, get on stage in a high-pressure situation, get that out of their system, and then T1's going to play their first series against Hanwha Life Esports, who just beat them.
So
That's pretty rough mentally, I'd say.
So I think we can probably put Hanwha here, and then simultaneously you can.
So this is
put
actually
Hanwha
the
here
point.
as well.
Yeah, that's a 3-0, this one here, the
Yeah.
second bracket. I don't think that's going to be very interesting, to be honest.
I
So
don't think
that
Hanwha can beat
happens-
Gen G in their current form.
I don't think
No,
it's
I
possible.
don't think so either. But I also think that like it's correct to put Hanwha Life Esports there because look at what happens in the lower bracket, baby. Look at what happens in that lower bracket. Because that
T1
is.
KT.
You were mentioning this is going to be the best series. Well, what about the series that we call Telecom War, and then it is actually just destruction.
So then put T1 down here.
Tier list season.
Yeah,
anyone?
I am kind of.
yeah,
As good as that is going to be, I feel like what I do think is that this is really even more so than last time around. This bracket looks obviously this is not great, but this bracket looks hella dope.
oh yeah. There is not one of these matches that I'm going into thinking like, oh yeah, whatever. And I think that like I'm
Well,
going
the
into
first one.
outside of round one. Round one's good. Round one's
that one, I'm like, oh,
yeah. Actually, yeah, it is match 1 of round 1. That's the only one that's.
that's actually the
Also,
only
T1
one.
Hanwha Life Esports. You know.
No,
Oh, wait,
because-
no, sorry, that's the opposite. Never
I
mind.
mean, like, this is probably the next worst thing, which if Genji Hanwha Life is your next worst match, that's not bad.
No, we take those. And this is like Viper versus Chovy. Like there are so many things like in this matchup that is just so good.
Delight versus his former team.
Canyon versus Peanut.
I think it's happening again, guys.
You think T1 will win?
Even if Hanwha win here, I think we can't escape our fate.
Oh, but also, if it is
Yeah.
Genji T1, then we get unique matchups
Oh,
throughout the whole of playoffs.
which is hella
That's
dope.
kind of cool.
But like,
Well, I mean, besides this.
so this
Yeah.
is
oh right.
so
Wait.
this is up, yeah, because
oh yeah, T1 Chile has stuff.
But that last year gave us 2 amazing series. So
Yeah.
let's hope that happens again. I feel like it will. Here I'm like 60% Hanwha Life. Here I'm like
Well, here's the thing. T1 is a team that learns and improves super quickly, just like they did last season, where they made their run back and ended up winning the whole thing, or going to the finals at least. Like here, you might have problems, but by the time we reach here, like you fix them. Hanwha might have some problems exposed here that they will not fix
And then
by
they'll
here.
get
Like we just know this is
smashed
going to
by
happen, right?
Gen.G, and then it's like, yeah, I think T1 are actually favored in this lower bracket finals.
Besides some cool stuff that Peanut does, like Hanwha Life Esports, like straight up as a team, they're like a hands diff team. Like they're like the third place gatekeeper like team where no team below them is good enough to actually beat them mechanically. And Peanut again does some cool stuff, pathing, whatever. Like I think that is going to be an edge here. But Zeka's champion pool will be further tested / exposed here. By the time we get here, I think they lose this one. I think this sounds crazy if you're watching this and you're like, but they said they would win here, but you said they're going to lose here. But knowing how T1 improves, like I do feel like we just
It's just going to happen
Yeah.
again.
It should be
the
the
longer
way,
the
yeah.
tournament goes, I think T1 will get an advantage.
But also
Especially
then,
if they beat KT, pretty handily.
does T1 beat Gen.G in the final?
No.
Or do they just
Never.
get
No way.
creamed?
Never.
I don't
Because
think
like
so.
you were
They'll
talking
beat
about
them.
the ramping type situation, and like
I do
what
think
we did see was Gen.G did this to T1 is they played the day before, got that win in the lower bracket final, and then comes in and beats
then-
them. Maybe the reverse
no.
happens like
You're
the
too-
spring afterwards.
You're too early. They beat them at MSI. That's actually. I'm not even joking. That's actually what's going to happen. It's just a rerun of last year.
I think T1
And then BLG smashes them in
in-
the semifinals, and then we're like really sad.
Oh no. I do think that T1 in the best of 3 against Gen.G, where they got kind of smashed, a lot of their holes were kind of shown off, and Gen.G knew like exactly what to prep into
Exploit,
it, and
yeah.
T1 kind of got stuck in some of their drafts. Then we saw Lucianami not really work out at all, and Zeus kind of had a rough time. Canyon absolutely bodied him in the top side many times with his ganks, and I think that T1 can have a better chance in a best of 5. I don't think it's going to look like the best of 3 that we have between them. I think T1 will become better prepared. They'll have more chances, and they might be able to take a game or two. I don't know if I would very easily say 3-0, although I do agree that Gen.G is the much better team. T1 might get something here and there, and I think they're going to prepare and improve over the course of this series, whereas Gen.G won't really be challenged at all, I would say.
What about having just a little discussion about like what happens if Hanwha actually do
No,
go here?
that's the way worse final. I feel like that matchup never. I
Is
feel
it
like
a way worse
never-
final? It's Doran and Peanut.
To be
No,
honest,
no.
Final.
I'm saying.
yeah, to be honest, I'm like
gameplay.
it's not T1 Gen.G, so it's the best timeline.
No,
Yeah.
So I'm talking strictly gameplay. From a narrative point of view, we get Peanut on the motorcycle
No,
again.
but I'm
maybe.
saying gameplay because it's a final, a domestic final that Peanut is in.
Dorn's
good
going to
at
play
winning,
Gragas
though.
for
But-
some reason,
okay,
like he's
but-
not even meta.
On one hand,
Huh.
we have Peanut and his co-worker is Zeka.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we have Chovy.
And Canyon, yeah. But they also have Viper. He's way better than Pays.
True,
Like, that bottom lane is giga.
but I just don't think it's going to matter.
But like, I
It's
feel like
Giga.
the way that Viper is better than Pace doesn't translate in you smashing Gen.G.
No.
Like,
Of
you
course
don't
not. They're not
smash
going to
the bottom
smash
lane.
They might get
Gen.G.
some wins, though.
They
Well, no, for
definitely
sure,
don't smash
but-
them, but I think that like that makes it a more interesting matchup.
I just think Hanwha Life is just Gen.G, but slightly worse because what makes Gen.G so oppressive to play against is their
Chovy.
8K. Well, it's partially Chove, but it's also like everyone on that team, their CS stats are
Yeah, no,
because they
it's
never
ridiculous.
waste a wave. So I feel like the reason why I feel like T1 can actually, if it isn't Gen.G, I imagine it'd be T1 because I think that they actually, even though obviously they have a lot of mental hang-ups against performing against them, at least the playstyle is different. I feel like Hanwha Life, if you try to play the same way as Gen.G, you just never beat them, which is why Gen.G also has sucked at internationals because they get met with very different playstyles, and then they kind of lose it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the same reasons why we expected Gen.G to easily win here, I think it's an outclass. I want to see Hanwha Life esports players on a final stage. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Like to me, I'm like, this is the worst finals. Not just because we think it's gonna be 3-0, but like I keep seeing these two names on the final stage. I'd take this in this spot Or T1 versus.
I mean, that would be
World
insane.
Scrim matchup?
That would be
Are we
an
getting,
insane
like-
story.
Is it the Pyoshik comes back to Korea and makes the run to the finals
Maybe.
again?
Yoshik doesn't have an LCK title.
Yeah,
So which team do
Definitely
we think is
doesn't.
the one team that could make an insane run?
KT.
it's KT,
KT.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Has
they could
to
just
be.
flip some heads on the way. Like who knows?
Yeah.
It's almost likely because is 50% chance likely?
Max.
It's about as
about
likely as
half
it is
as likely.
unlikely.
Yeah.
Okay. We got confirmation. I thought she was about to tell us that it didn't. I'm like, well, let's start over.
All right, so just to let everyone know, that is confirmation that Kwandong Freaks are definitely going up against Home Life Esports in our very first round. So this wasn't a waste of time.
Yay.
Fantastic.
I,
There we
I
go.
would, I would love a Cinderella run. I feel like we haven't had one of those since 2018.
Africa.
Africa, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even kidding because so in 2018 summer we had KT, then 2019 was T1 twice or T1 Genji maybe.
2019 was, I think it was T1 twice. Wasn't
Might
it?
be, yeah. They definitely were in spring because they went to MSI. I don't know about Worlds. Maybe it was Genji. And then in 2020, obviously, it was T1 and Dom1.
Yep.
Then in 2021, both
2021,
Dom1.
definitely Dom one.
And
Yeah.
then it was just Genji T1 all the way down.
Yep.
So, like, if KT end up winning, even if Hanwha end up winning, I would love it. Like, it would be so cool. But I think the bracket itself and the individual matches, I'm
I'm
stoked.
super psyched, and I actually think that I'm okay with Genji going for the Quadra, and I think that this iteration of Genji is the closest thing to a successful super team that we've had in a great many years.
And some pieces got moved around, but it's still the core is Chovy, right? It's still part of this roster, and
Pays.
Pays obviously as well. And Lehen's coming back is really cool to see, and I don't know, it just feels like a real legacy is brewing here, and so.
And Keen's going to get a trophy, man. He's going to get stuff, and it's going to be proof that he's super good, and that's just makes me happy.
Who was it in 2018 Africa?
Africa and Kingzone.
No, but who was it? Wasn't Keen?
He was
Keen
on
was
that team.
definitely on that team,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He got a
Yeah.
silver medal.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, it's not as
Doesn't
much
do
of a
it.
trophy.
With
You don't
two
get the
Yeah, that would
trophy
be
way.
really cool actually. Keen finally getting a domestic pro. The rest of the team is like, you guys got plenty.
They've got plenty. They got loads.
I mean, Chovy didn't have any, and now
Could
he has
always
a
use
lot.
more.
Yeah, it would be that would be like Chovy going from yeah, true. Chovy going from never winning to winning being the first team ever and the first.
well, now
player
that he's
ever.
he's learned how to win, and so it's not like he's gonna forget, And so now he's just gonna keep winning for the rest
I don't
of his
know, man.
career.
Whenever he leaves Lol Park, it seems to kind of go all right.
Yeah, I'm okay with the Genji storyline if they win again. Also, this finals is infinitely more interesting if T1 actually wins. I don't expect that to happen, but that's a cool storyline. Like
It's
that,
happened
I'll take
last
that
year.
Genji
Yeah.
T1 storyline.
Like the upset where
Yeah.
Genji beat T1.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
that's what we're saying. I think
yeah.
that you do get a slight advantage playing in the lower bracket final.
And then I can finally make my rant about how being in the upper bracket is unfair because you don't get to lose. Because that hasn't happened yet.
True. It's technically you should actually play another final because
Yeah.
that isn't technically a grand final, is it?
Yeah.
That is just the
'Cause
upper
Genji-
bracket final, and then the grand final should be afterwards.
But that's not.
That's not how we do it.
And also, it hasn't actually happened yet. Because every team, I think that is. Oh no, Genji did. Yeah, Genji,
Genji
came in from lower bracket.
Came
right?
in from lower bracket and beat T1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I also that's the only as good as this bracket is. That's the only thing I would love if we could do. I know, is it the 1-up best of 7? You get a 1-game advantage.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Or just do another best of 5.
Well, yeah, I would love that, but I don't think that's actually realistically.
Yeah,
ever
I mean
happening.
that's how it should be done, though, right? So if say T1 comes up from the lower bracket, manages to beat Genji, they have to do it again. That should theoretically be how it works, and that would be super hype. You just get another best of 5 between these two teams, and if it is the lower bracket coming up and beating the upper bracket, that means that it's obviously a competitive series. And if the first place team is just not there's no competition, then we just move on, right?
If KT can win this, I think some of the similar problems why we picked HLE here, but then we picked T1 here, occurs. And like if KT can upset here and have a good performance and the right mentality, go here. I think KT actually go here as well. Am I crazy? I actually think
I agree.
It will probably be like a 5-gamer. It's not going to be the same sort of like massive gigabrain read that T1 will probably have, but like I do see a world like if KT they make the miracle, like it goes from here to here to here,
And then it get 3-0'd.
Yes, same story.
I mean, it's about as likely for that to happen, or even for them to just lose to D+ in the first round.
It's all 50-50.
I mean, it's true, but like the way like I think that if there is like KT and they're on form and they like come into the DK match and they look really good, and their read on the meta is strong, and like Beryl is actually cooking
Jinx
and he's
is
doing
buffed.
it well, like yeah,
Crit
Jinx
items
is buff.
are buffed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jinx
Not
is
Jinx.
indirectly buffed.
But also like that's how Deft prefers to play just in general, so that does help them. But I think that like if they just have a good read and it works, like KT could be a really interesting team, because like remember it's a large portion of the
Some
of the dream
POG
team,
pocket picks, that we haven't seen yet. Like that could happen.
Ramus.
we
saw that
did
one
see
twice,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Ramus is good. I think Ramus is actually a good pick.
yeah, Velsa now
They
we're
They
having
pick
a,
double AD carry,
It's good,
and then
yeah.
you just Ramus
a
them.
long discussion just on point and click in general.
We looked at every champion in the game, and we were like, who has point and click CC? And the one of them that we looked at was Ramus.
Every other one, like Vice meta, Nautilus, especially like
Annie.
ranged point and click CC.
Yeah. TF, gold card, nerfed.
Where's
incredibly-
Malzahar then?
Yeah, well, Malzahar has to stand still, so it's kind of...
Still points and he clicks.
True. That's the only. But we also.
I
have
also,
Rammus on
I
the
also
list.
think legit, like I've been joking about this for a while, and it's Huni's biggest nightmare. But like, I actually think he might have a place in the meta fairly soon, just with how the game shakes out right now, and how it's so based
Someone
on getting
call
one
Crown.
target.
Tell him to come back.
Oh, boy.
But
Who else then? Is it only like the? Who else has a point and click?
No,
stun?
we actually went through the entire champion list because most other ones are either melee, so it's like Counter Strike or something. It's a
Skarner.
lot harder to make work. Skarner is basically melee, or it's
Skarner is about to change.
or it's
Yeah.
true, or it's a skill shot. So then like
Yeah, then it's not the same.
yeah,
Peanut Skarner, man, in summer.
I mean,
New
Skarner looks
Skarner.
freaking insane.
Yeah, he looks so dope.
Holy.
Definitely
It
going to be
looks
busted.
OP as
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is going to be.
By
it needs
the
some
time
tuning.
Insanely strong.
summer rolls around, he will be nerfed into the ground, and we won't see him.
And champions that like
Hope not.
either like that traverse walls in really broken ways. Like how many of them have we, like Smolder flapping over? You've got Zeri skating over, and
Yeah.
now you've got like
Kane-
Skarner just
Skarner.
Kane
drilling
definitely in the
through, and then
meta.
like being better Poppy, and then being better like Scion because he can go through walls, and then being better like everything else all at the same time. Being better himself because his ult now hits everyone. Like oh my god.
It was so weird when Kane was meta in what
Dude.
2021.
No, that's still one of the best games. The Kane game
God,
at World's Quarters
Canyon.
in 2022. I
Yeah.
think that's when DK really went boom.
I mean, it was.
I think
a
it was when
fantastic
Khan
game.
played Yasuo top.
That was King Long. No, why did you bring that back? Oh,
Last series of his career.
Hey, look, he
Yeah.
went out with a bang, and he loves playing the Windy Boy. You know, so
one
it
game
makes
away
sense.
from. Oh my god.
Should have played Riven.
Still
He
gets
should
me.
have. He should have.
No, he shouldn't. But it would have been more fun and iconic.
It is beautiful.
I think we did it.
I think we've done it too.
We solved the LCK playoffs.
Last
It was
time we
more
did-
interesting than I thought it was going to be.
It
to be
actually,
honest.
seriously, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just because a lot of the individual matchups, even though the outcome feels kind of predetermined, it's very in line with Dune. You know, you already know what's going to happen, but it's still cool.
Yeah. Sometimes it's about the journey.
Not this again.
It is very sandy, this bracket. Yeah.
So if we were to like
Ramus is there.
quickly run off some percentages, right, for what we think. So Harmer Life Esports versus KDF, 100%. 95? No, just 100.
99.
99 is
99,
it. We'll
yeah.
tolerate 99.
Shouldn't we do scores?
KT 50.
I'm going to say 70.
50-50. 50-50, but it's going to be KT.
50, but it's 70. Like, write the 5 like it's a 7.
Yeah. Or just write it like it's a goose head or
It's a
something.
70-50.
Yeah. 70.
Question mark.
yeah.
That's good, right?
Something.
Yeah.
Ginger Kate, is that 93?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. 93. Yeah.
All right.
60-40.
Yeah, I don't-
50,
60.
55?
Yeah, 55,
55,
60.
45?
Yeah.
We're really unsure about this one.
It's just a
Love it.
question mark.
80,
98?
98? No.
95.
95.
92, kind of in the middle?
Yeah, 92.
Yeah,
I'm down with the
92,
92.
Yeah.
I like each of the Gen G ones is like, we're 90-something% sure.
Shoutouts to G2.
Yeah. That is a G and not
Yeah.
a 9.
Anyway.
Oh, God. 50-50?
No, it's
60,
it's
60, 40.
80-50. That's the only thing that makes sense.
That is
KT have a 50% chance to win, but also T1 has an 80% chance to win.
yeah. An 80.
Don't talk about the 8. Actually, maybe this kind of works. I don't know what this is
Yeah,
supposed to
Yeah,
be.
no, that's
unknown
that
number.
All
looks
the
like
KT ones
sunglasses.
are so scuffed. So this is 40-60.
Yeah.
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 It's weird that with the Gen G predictions, he
91?
doesn't actually write the other one. Why does he say 99-1?
I don't know.
91?
For the bottom,
Yeah.
I'd say like.
Or do we give it like
85.
I'd say like 70 maybe?
77.
I think
Lower
T1
bracket
have a
finals
chance.
is above.
77?
77?
77.
Or do you want to do
77%
cold
chance.
75, like 3 out of 4?
Nah, 77.
77.
It's like
okay.
slightly more
feels
like
better.
77
three-fourths.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
77.7 repeating.
Yeah.
That's
Make
a
sure
lot
you
of
put the line
sevens.
above the numbers to show it's repeating.
It's a big payout.
That's not repeating.
No, that's just 7,777%. That's a big damage multiplier in video games. Yeah.
Balatro.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Ah, the malt.
I think we nailed
Spear
it.
joke.
I think
we
we
did it.
absolutely nailed it. And I agree with all of these percentages. You guys at home, let us know whether you also agree with the kind of percentages that we have. Or maybe you also think that we're completely wrong and obviously T1's massively favored.
So,
in the
Yeah, I
playoffs.
don't know if
We're
I will be
idiots.
reading those comments. You can let us know, and I'll have my publisher look through the comments and give me the ones that are
So
readable.
MSI bracket next. FlyQuest
Oh.
versus Gen G.
Oh.
I'm joking.
Yeah, I don't know whether I want to think about that.
No, we shouldn't.
Wait, is TL going to...
Umti is one best of 5 win
Right?
away. Can you imagine? Like Umti at an international actually would heal.
Because it's like
Heal
if it's
part of my soul.
FlyQuest
Heal
and
nature.
TL,
It would heal
Heal the
nature.
planet. Yeah.
we get Papa and Umpty. Like that's some LCK
now then
vibes
KT
going on.
goes and we get POG versus Umti at an international.
Well, it's like what it was when we were commentating the LCK like a couple of years ago. Oh my god.
What if lava? Oh.
No.
Fly?
What about Forest? What about Forest, guys? Yeah, there are a lot of possibilities, but that is for the next episode. This is going to be our prediction for the playoffs, and we're very much hoping that this is actually not what happens. We're hoping that it's a few ups, like
We're
some
okay with
sort
it,
of
but
upset.
it's not.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
ideal.
Because like these are all, I think, like going to be more contentious than we're even giving them credit for. I think that like this playoffs is. I mean, maybe that's untrue. Apart from the left hand side or the Gen G side, the Gen G
Yeah,
ones are
the
like
Gen G
that's.
side.
We're being generous, I think, with the odds
Yeah,
for other people.
They did go 17-1. I'm like, again, you're
The
gonna need.
only team that's managed to not be first or runner up after going undefeated in a round robin is KT.
2 of those players are now on Gen G. That's food for thought.
That is food for thought. That is true.
It is food.
My
But-
brain ate it. Yeah.
What was it?
Was it nice?
It was a little. It was a
little
crusty.
overcooked.
A little crusty.
the KT memory still hurts.
Yeah. But that is going to do it for this episode. Let us know what you think about the playoffs and what you're going to expect. And we'll see you there on the weekend for those incredible best of fives. See whether Kwandong can do it. We'll see what can happen. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We'll see you there. Good night.